But when it's done, the fish pools, cities at sea, cars are drowning underneath. Children are swimming on top of the trees. Crowds of umbrellas are standing midway. Mary kept sewing, holding on to her TV.
fall from that memory or the season. For the yesterday, like a fall of a season to pass, to search that rebirth for the spring. The breath to defeat that heart for the feeling of the glow. And light and perspiration to nothing idolizing or idolized, for the sanctified for the middle of the day, for the turn to the weak, then dismay for the prototypical, for the outcome in the former sanction. Describe as scribbled on scripts of paper. Picture that for the road onto the frame, for the display for the disabled, no ability to find cables. No, reanimate for the passion of sentiments, to be addressed as new for the prototype. An offbeat metronome under the bridge that has been burned by the oppressor. Push the button, the unbloused, the infatuated for the slim chance of getting their new exit. To the outcry for the mediocre to litigate. The patient, the wait, for approval for the dawning of the anticipation for the classically classified. For the pure hope, for the ability to pacify. You were living the purpose that was eventually crucified. For all just eventually justified. Rooted for the shove of the tools and dignity. And the possibility for the disabled, for the all rendering to the ponder on the lakes. Now the dope body water for the drink, filling the circulation, the cool, the vivid, and clear to take off for the mind, for the naked, and the aching. Attention for the approval, proved to be equally aligned to the embodiment for the kind of afterthought for the brought in wine, and clear for the humankind. That was the host. That announces the flagrant rants. Protest the qualification to derive to the imply, the impose. As artists, you were on the display to awaken the sheep. No array for the need for the common courtesy. Or the course that was permanent for the blind, for the see the shine, and in the dim end of the bend, the bind for the bend, for the bear, for the essential essence of the lines, compose a proposition, the neutral grounds. The granite at the center for the cemetery, for the shrines. Imitate the immortal to be important like every kind of regards to this position, for the attention span and remaining to remember. The last time they watched the clock to wave goodbye. To see the shoreline, and it was only because of that shoreline, short-lived tan line for the age of the gender, for the page to interact that, interrupt that, are preoccupied for the jobs of applications. You must be amplified enough for the stereotype. It was ordinarily ordained and obtained for the pride, for the proud, for the privilege, and the previous parent, the child, for the teacher, the bride, the country, the mind state.
On the fall from that memory or the season. For the yesterday, like a fall of a season to pass, to search that rebirth for the spring. The breath to defeat that heart for the feeling of the glow. And light and perspiration to nothing idolizing or idolized, for the sanctified for the middle of the day, for the turn to the weak, then dismay for the prototypical, for the outcome in the former sanction. Describe as scribbled on scripts of paper. Picture that for the road onto the frame, for the display for the disabled, no ability to find the cables. No, reanimate for the passion of sentiments, to be addressed as new for the prototype. An offbeat metronome under the bridge that has been burned by the oppressor. The push, the button, the unbloused, the infatuated for the slim chance of getting their new exit. For the outcry for the mediocre to litigate. The patient, the wait, for approval for the dawning of the anticipation for the classically classified. For the pure hope, for the ability to pacify. You were living the purpose that was eventually crucified. For all just eventually justified. Rooted for the shove of the tools and dignity. And the possibility for the disabled, for the all rendering to the ponder on the lakes. Now the dope body water for the drink, filling the circulation, the cool, the vivid, and clear to take off for the mind, for the naked, and the aching. Attention for the approval, proved to be equally aligned to the embodiment for the kind of afterthought for the brought in wine, and clear for the humankind. That was the host. That announces the flagrant rants. Protest the qualification derived to the imply, the impose. As artists, you were on the display to awaken the sheep. No array for the need for the common courtesy. Or the course that was permanent for the blind, for the see the shine, and in the dim end of the bend, the bind for the bend, for the bear, for the essential essence of the lines, compose a proposition, the neutral grounds. The granite at the center for the cemetery, for the shrines. Imitate the immortal to be important like every kind of regards to this position, for the attention span and remaining to remember. The last time they watched the clock to wave goodbye. To see the shoreline, and it was only because of that shoreline, short-lived tan line for the age of the gender, for the page to interact that, interrupt that, are preoccupied for the jobs of applications. You must be amplified enough for the stereotype. It was ordinarily ordained and obtained for the pride, for the proud, for the privilege, and the previous parent, that child, for the teacher, the bride, the country, the mind state, the mentally challenged to the use, and the damage to the manager, for the people that move it to still be still, for the lover, for the love that composed the song that made her ink of the wealth, for the crumpled paper, the star, for the skyline of passion. On the fall from that memory or the season. Stamped to destinations addressed, nude, no Pro keys and no envelope, true benevolence for the beloved. Before the number and after the letter, for the current no D, note that was a wrote. Written color red for the paraphrase and ration, caption mentioned to matter to me as you, the disregard for the insecurity for the obscurity for the fear for the maturity I can see, and intuitively positive all for the negativity.
Time stamped to destinations address, new no. Pro keys and no envelope, true benevolence for the beloved. Before the number and after the letter, for the current no D, note that was a wrote. Written color red for the paraphrase and ration, caption mentioned to matter to me as you, the disregard for the insecurity for the obscurity for the fear for the maturity I can see, and intuitively positive all for the negativity for the feeding your hunger for the strike in the backlist. Backlit afterthought for the wild, the call for the shadow for the doubt, the light for the only could reveal such revelation for the deviation alleviated for all means. Let me know if you could find or seek a little truth which is stickety enough for the tricky to the stickety mentality for the hose of gravity down. Makes empath want to turn around for the axis of traveling time because I want to travel around that for the gravel to the kick, to keep the loose and hold to obtain to the observe. Deviate to all alleviated for the capital American abbreviated to be quarreled enough for the abbreviated for outcast intoxicated for the relationship to sink the song to suppress the pressure for the gestures for the lessons for the press. Instead of that, jacking could be invested for the morning of opportunities to the wings to soar and not to hurt the wind that spreads the threads of those time for the esoteric for the rather for the rhetoric of the pathetic for the apathy for the instead of the compassionate. Care is tricky to find or resonate with the native nature that is calling you for the playing deaf, while games, kings, and thrones who were thrown into the middle for the borrowed forms is entering the entertainment for the adamant for the sacrament, evidence to the providence for the residue, residing that for the response to your reluctant, you're using your luck and nothing spent the rent for the dim lit for the light. For the right residents of the residing for the backsliding of analyzing and dismay. Deviate for the temptations and tempters. The temperature for the rapture for the reptilian. Till the dirt to rest in for the be grounded by the found by of unforgiving forefathers who engaging the enigma for the diligently. Harsh to be oxymoronic and monocle. Blind to the optics of your options. Options and opt out for the repetitive for the copies of the heart to bear. Copacetic and left up that to bear for the rarely talked about and red as a color printed and didn't put it in and for the detriment and for the deprived and disapproved. Prevalent for the unveiling number for the foretelling of the life. Time stamped to destinations. Time stamped to destinations. Time stamped to destinations. Time stamped to destinations. Address new no. Pro keys and no envelope, true benevolence for the beloved. Before the number and after the letter, for the current no D, note that was a wrote. Written color red for the paraphrase and ration, caption mentioned to matter to me as you, the disregard for the insecurity for the obscurity for the fear for the maturity I can see, it intuitively positive all for the negativity for the feeding your hunger for the strike in the backlist. Backlit afterthought for the wild, the call for the shadow for the doubt, the light for the only could reveal such revelation for the deviation alleviated for all means. Let me know if you could find or seek a little truth which is sticky enough for the tricky to the stickety mentality for the hose of gravity down. Makes empath want to turn around for the axis of traveling time because I want to travel around that for the gravel to the kick, to keep the loose, hold to obtain to the observe. Deviate to all alleviated for the capital American abbreviated to be quarreled enough for the abbreviated for outcast intoxicated for the relationship to sink the song to suppress the pressure for the gestures for the lessons of the press. Instead of that, jacking could be invested for the morning of opportunities to the wings to soar and not to hurt the wind that spreads the spurs the threads of those time for the esoteric for the rather for the rhetoric of the pathetic for the apathy for the instead of the compassionate. Care is tricky to find or resonate with the native nature that is calling you for the playing deaf, while games, kings, and thrones who were thrown into the middle for the borrowed forms is entering the entertainment for the adamant for the sacrament, evidence to the providence for the residue, residing that for the response to your reluctant and using your luck and nothing spent the rent for the dim lit for the light, for the right residents of the residing for the backsliding of analyzing and dismay. Deviate for the temptations and tempters, the temperature for the rapture for the reptilian, till the dirt to rest in, to be grounded by the found by of unforgiving forefathers who engaging the enigma for the diligent, harsh to be oxymoronic and monocle, blind to the optics of your options and opt out for the competitive for the copies of the heart to bear. Copacetic and left epithet to bear for the rarely talked about and the rarest color printed. Who didn't put it in and for the detriment and for the deprived and disapproved. Prevalent for the unveiling, never for the foretelling of the lies and allegations to get that aggravated enough I can't alleviate the term. Talk to elevating the stand for the sunbird, for the chirping of the chime and illuminize, illuminating the skies and guides and eyes and prize and while you enslaved to enterprise and pride of the ride to the nipples and chastise and treasure. Landslide the parks of the Colbert, landmark like a graffiti kiss. Gratifies to the gravity like getting high and a narcissist to getting by to stealing to return by. And that shit isn't flying enough to uphold the truth and inside that house of the temple and the templates for the human sacrifice. It would be
So, it's your friend's birthday.
a human demise to uphold and repeat that lack of no emotions and behavior, no heart, as though you were the reason to find and go to Oz and follow the yellow brick road and you can be a rodent inside of that one bird and roadkill. Kill the road, kill the heart, kick the dust, kick rocks, kick the habits. Kicking you out of the heavens, you cast down to the hell where you choose to rely.
I wish to hold you. I wish to hold you.
I wish to
I wish to hold you.
I wish to hold you.
I wish to hold you. I beheld you. All I wanted was you. To hold my hand one more time, to look into my eyes one more time, tell me you love me one more, kiss me one more time for the night. You were so comfortable enough for nobody to do, but for the only left me the company. Think about the color. When we first fell in love from before we knew price. Understand that I died from it. Wishing to disappear forever, wishing the way out, and wishing. I didn't want to wish anymore for the best accident that I could find was that love. Led to the worst heartbreak I could find. That love was easier to defend. For the audience not to breathe for the earthly rock stage, for the must depart for the essence of the expanding. In the heavens rejoice for the one, for the own has made it home. And the challenge for the heart, for the it's the cold stone. To get us over the trap into the light. Pretending to shine for the body like something seemed to die. Mind straight, so it stays messed up 24/7 the time for the happen. So hands and knees and keep trembling for the lips of the scale from until the ending. And I could find I wasn't stray for the afraid and I for the responsibility for the you were responsible for my fear and fears for the crawling in the near for the near to hear the braveness is not to do something with it for the just to be the afraid for the what the real and have no regrets and I can find. What was your point? You were a serial killer for the brain, the ammunition for the mouth, and the gun for my body. Bullet holes inside of me.
Been a strange day. Just a little less.
But if I answer that means for now, and all the defined in a minute the things that I can find and think about it. And aren't you happy to never see me go for the don't for the pity?
Don't feel like talking
never done.
weather doesn't ask me.
Singing, I don't want to roar about it anymore. I'm buried inside for the dead, for the pain, for the numb, for the distance just begun enough for the stirring, the showing up again for the starter to make me awake, for the taking me all of the time, for the what you find me to stay. And I can take the pills of pain, to make me stay alive again, for the make me lie to me again, to try to stuff like that. For holding on to me now, for the holding me back, for the causing all the pain, the pain that I know, the change that just begun, for the starting to more time for the occupying the pain, that's it. The breath will take me away from the just to say what I am, I
Miss
just say
something I can
not
let
the
my
mind,
head
the main thing that's only the mind, the same, the way for the morning, what it is. Remember that? Better memory for the one for the next one. You took up the light of the fire, and you took burning in my soul. You fell into my heart, and it was the ocean. If I would have made it to serene, it would have been the rest of the night, nighttime, to show the fire. The life and it was sucking most importantly for the life to take all of it. And everything for the law and has its conception for the look. The statement for the law for the its conception. For the law without a conception, it would multiply the land. The only one, the law of its kind. This is the place of paradise, the Lord minds, the door of the city for the books, and the face of the smile, and the this will be the world with each memory for the other. So there's a warmth in that life, and there's some more stars, and there's a couple of everything life, and there's everyone to the but I never wear no winds and cut into my words, but I never be cry for the memories. What can be taken away from me is not mine. And you wouldn't know for the lies you told me, again for the left of my soul, for the thought it was intoxicated enough, but I couldn't
pace in this world spins, and more that I can swallow for the harder this gets to the remember the different things and what you find in every sip of the everyday touch of the ever, the special little lips in the stand, and I can guess I can sit for this baby just a minute, another bottle of I can try harder to forget, but it was the memory that would have fade away. I can only remember, and these are the hardest ground I can find for the lay here for the hours that you can sleep with that for the night, the eyes are open for the minutes to look around, to see the sun, the force of the stuck into the windows of blind, the demon that's drowning in the ears, invisible to the silence and sound. I miss your voice in the waves, the cricket grand that light up to the room, when I stand inside of myself for the tears and drown on my face. This is everything I can find and taking at your place, where this to be the closing eye, just to the void of the blocks, and taking us out of the line, leading away for the pumps and the monitor, the wheels and the cars to the suffocating me with the noise. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that I love you enough for the one.
I wish to hold you.
What was it that I could have done? More.
All I wanted
What was
was
it that I could have done?
or less.
What was it that I could have done? More or better or less? What does the world need? I feel like the words couldn't save it. Or would they want to be saved? What in hell do they want, or is it hell that they want? You wouldn't know for the lines to find. You could be taken away for it, you could find a way. And rewinding back at the line for the ticks that talk, for the never to turn back for the time, for the hours decline, the clock is wide. So that the hours decline that ran out of the month. And the miles that are laid for the yesterday's laid, and the cemetery for the flowers of the memories, and all they suddenly forgot for the what was the all tomorrows, and they would never be the sorrow for the yesterdays they lost. And they wasn't needed to gonna say goodbye for the millions of reasons to walk away. And this would be the one of the elders and the remaining the wisdom, for the list to be the wise, the wisdom, the words, those who least find the outcomes, for the longer beautiful inside of the heart, for the spirit of beauty was never without a question. And I can rest in that peace for the heavens to call me. And I find that my soul will reap, and my soul will go there in peace, and the body will rest of the summer with a smile and a joy, with the leaving of my place in my world. I'm happy that you can find that reason to cry, and never that for the reason to lie, or die for that for the being, the few, the decent and can hand when helping. This will be the few reasons for the someone to can fall in love again, for that you can be there for the reason for someone to love. And I just want